it was a pretty neat ordeal. It was sitting there watching, and this little 6-pointer come up, and of course I can't shoot him because of the 8-point restriction up there. And I watched him for a while, and he went over and laid down, and a doe come by. When she come by, she played around for a while, and then all of a sudden I seen that little buck get up, and I thought, wow, this is going to be kind of interesting to watch this. And all of a sudden he showed himself. And I thought, well, that ain't him. I've been hunting this guy for 5 years now. When I saw his gray head, I thought sure it was him. Then when he stuck his tail up, I knew it was him because he's bobtailed. That was one of my secrets about telling how, if I ever seen him.
Very nice deer.
He only made it about 20 feet after I spotted him. Took me three grunts to get him to stop, but finally took him down.
Yeah.
How many points?
14.
You scored him yet?
No, I'm gonna have the taxidermist do that. He can do a road score on him.
Yeah.
He can't do official score, because he's not licensed for it. But
yeah. That's a nice deer.
yeah, he told me, he said, bring it up. He says, I'll keep him out for you for nothing.
Okay.
He says, I'll keep it that way. There ain't no questions. He says, I can definitely get it to hide the way I need it that way.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
There you go. Boogie in it. Yeah, it was I'd say it was about 32, 33 degrees. Real strong east wind blowing, real strong. And all I could hear the whole time I was there was the traffic from the highway, which is a mile west of us. Hunting on our farm. Just happened to catch him when he was stupid in his rut.
Now, Destry, you say you've been after this bad boy for about 5 years now.
5 years. I've got sheds that I've found that he's dropped, and he just year by year gained more mass, and then he finally started where he got his brow tines forked out. Started getting some stickers going. He got them up on the back of both brow tines. Had got real good genetics going on all the does or all the bucks that show up there. So I'm hoping I didn't ruin the genetics on the farm by taking out
Mac Daddy there. Woo!
But I'm thinking since we've already got the genetics going that
right, they're there to stay.
Yeah. We do cull some bucks. We get rid of the ones that's got deformities in them. But they're all big deer up there. Northern Missouri deer.
Now this was opening day of the 2010 Missouri Firearms season, what they call their November portion.
Yeah, he's eluded me for 5 years. That was my first time finding him, was 5 years ago, and never gave me a shot since. He just stayed away.
Well, when you called me, I just had a feeling. And then I called, and I called back, and it was ringing. Went into your voicemail, if I remember right. And I said, he's got blood on his hands. Big boy's down. Yep. Something's down. And then I just had this feeling like it was that deer. So that is great.
Yeah, it took me a while to collect myself.
I can imagine.
Seeing something like that show up that I've been so devoted in.
Yeah.
I let a lot of really nice deer go by just because I thought, nah, he's just 30 yards behind that deer, Went home 2 years skunked. The other times I went home with just a doe.
We are looking at the inside spread here. We're going to get that sucker scored here. I'll tell you what, I've forgotten what big bucks is. Is it
9-inch number ones. Oh, that'll ruin my score there. I got an inch off between those two.
What's big bucks? I forget. Is that 125, 135, or
140.
145? Okay.
My 8-pointer was 168 and 5/16 or something like that, and he was in there.
Awesome.
Well, I can tell you right now, folks, I've never put a hand on a deer this big before. This is cool. I'm just real tickled for Destry here. This is awesome. Been after this deer for 5 years. Just look at the character on this thing. Look at that. Got decent sized hands. Look at that right there. Look at all that junk sticking off of there. That's just all kinds of gnarly stuff there on the going into the skull cap. That's a pretty deer. Yeah, definitely. Can't get one of these out of that. 6.5 inches.
6.5.
Center, 4 3/4. 4 3 down here. That's good. You know, I just came from my neighbor's house too, and he has a big doe down and a nice 8. And in Missouri's going to start growing some bigger deer because we've got antler point restrictions in place all across the state, with the exception of a few counties. Here in Cass County, everything south of 2 Highway, we've got to watch out for that. So anybody who's not in favor of it, you better change your mind, because this is what you get for quality deer management right here. Awesome. There's the length of his tail right there. There's the end of the fur. It's narrower than my hand. I got 4.5 inch grip on my hand there. It's rounded off. I don't know if he's lost it in frostbite or got some kind of infection in it. Somebody shot at him. The coyote got a hold of him. There's no telling what it was, but that's how I always spotted him. If I couldn't tell by body size after he'd lost his rack, that was always my sign right there.
So Destry's been able to figure out various things over the years about this deer, bodily characteristics and obviously patterns of travel and things. How did he act yesterday in terms of the overall travel routes and things like that?
He was walking kind of a northeasterly. He was northeast bound. Come up into the timber, cut scent of the doe that was evidently in estrus. Stuck his nose to the ground, trailed her down, and something broke him off. He got something sound. He never winded me because I had the wind in my face all the time watching him. Something caught his attention. I don't know if it was a better smelling doe or what it was. He turned and walked away from me, and I sure thought I was going to lose him again. But I finally grunted him. I got him stopped twice, but when he stopped, he was behind trees. Couldn't take a good, decent kill shot. I like him drop. I don't want him to run off and not be found.
Right.
Awesome. But when he finally turned and started walking away from me, that's where I started getting worried about it. And I hit grunt mode 3 or 4 times. And then he wouldn't stop for me, so I finally found a spot between 2 trees and picked my shot and got him. It's probably about 45 yards, 50 yards.
Good old Missouri brush country timbered draw action there. You don't need to reach out too far and touch him in most cases. That's all right.
There's some shots across the row crop where 7mm comes in handy. But I always use the 444 in the brush.
Cool. Yeah, that is one sweet animal.
Them northern deer though, that's definitely one of the signs up north of the giant deer. They're huge body. The northern Missouri deer are big bodied deer. They're deer you just almost want to buy a four-wheeler for to get him out of the brush.
And when you called me, we talked a little bit about your having to drag it out of the timber.
It took me 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Whew! I
And
bet your back was tired there.
I only drug him about, well, from where my stand is 20 yards inside the timber. And I shot him about 40 yards away, 45 yards, somewhere in that area. I drug him roughly the distance I shot him from. And then had to pick a spot I could drive the truck through the timber. I couldn't get him anymore.
Wow.
Took the truck to get him wrestling out.
What do you think of that thing?
Pretty big. Proud of my dad. Wished I could go.
You can next year if you take your forward your hunter safety. You got all the information.
Biggest one he shot.
I got a rifle for you. Shoot your own deer.
So all of those sheds are from him, not from the deer he shot.
The ones that have the ball on the
Yeah,
bottom of them,
yeah.
those are sheds, yes. The funny thing is, all I've ever found is the right side shed.
About that, you gonna do that next year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Start doing your homework, huh? Your dad was after that one for 5 years,
Yep.
and you know more about that than me.
Yeah.
You were helping him chase that deer probably way before he and I ever even knew each other. So.
We had an idea of showing some of the sheds that I've found off this deer in my time of searching him out. This was the first shed that I found of him. This was the very first one 5 years ago that I found of him. And I skipped a year, didn't find any of them, and then found this one. And I've lost track of finding these sheds. I don't know if he was going somewhere else and dropping them off or what it was. Somebody else found them maybe, trespassing on the property there.
Yeah.
And this is what we've turned into. All of them's the right side of his rack. That's
Wow.
the odd thing about it. I never found the left side.
Yep.
I thought he was a really old deer until I finally got to do something like this. He's still got a lot of length to his chompers there, and he still has all of them. I can't get. He locked up tight after I shot him, but his grinders, you can kind of see some of them. You can't see all of them. They look like they're still sharp. There's nothing ground off real deep. Normally, the older they get, the more they wear them down. A lot of times when you shoot a really old deer, those will be almost non-existent. The grinders will be all the way down to the jawbone, and their front teeth will be wore off, similar to an old man's teeth. The older they get, the worse they wear down, and they'll be losing a lot of them. That's why a lot of them, when the older they get, they don't get the nutrition they get. They lose their mass. I'm kind of curious to see a jawbone out of him to see exactly how old he was.
Yeah. Well, we might have to bring him that later, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, after the taxidermist gets him all cleaned out, I'll
Yeah.
see if I can talk him into keeping jawbone so I can try to age him.